Hi everybody, we're back with another fairy tale. This time the story is The Three Little Pigs. This is the original story of The Three Little Pigs. This version is by James Marshall. So let's take a listen to The Three Little Pigs. Here we go. Once upon a time. Once upon a time, an old sow, that's a word for an adult pig, sent her three little pigs out into the world to seek their fortune. Now be sure to write, she said, and remember, I love you. So the first little pig met a man who had a load of straw. I know, said the little pig. I'll buy your straw and build a house. Well, that's not a good idea, said the man. Mind your business. But thank you, said the little pig. And he bought the straw and he set about building a house. It took him no time at all because it was made of straw. And very soon, a lean and hungry wolf happened by. The pig was just about his favorite food to eat in the whole world. So he knocked on the door and he said, little pig, let me come in. To which the little pig replied, no, 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 not by the hair on my chinny chin chin. Well, this annoyed the wolf to no end, so he said, then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. Go right ahead, said the little pig. So the wolf huffed and he puffed and he blew the house in. And then you know what he did? He gobbled up that little pig. Sure did. The second little pig met a man with a load of sticks. I've got it, said the little pig. I'll buy those sticks and I'll build a house. I'd think twice about that, said the man. Oh, pooh, said the little pig. What would you know? So he bought the sticks and he went to work building his house. Very pretty, he said, very pretty. No sooner had that little pig settled into his pretty house when the wolf happened by. Guess what? He was still hungry. And he said, little pig, let me come in. To which the little pig replied, no, 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 not by the hair on my chinny chin chin. The wolf didn't care for that at all, and so he said that I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. Ha, 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 said the little pig. So the wolf huffed and he puffed and he blew the house in. And guess what? He gobbled up that little pig too. Now the third little pig met a man with a load of bricks. Those bricks will make a fine, sturdy house, said the man. Capital idea, my good fellow, said the little pig. So he bought the bricks and set about building a house. It took him quite a bit of time, but it was well worth it. It was nice and solid, said the little pig. Nice and solid. But no sooner had the little pig moved in when he noticed the wolf loitering about. And the wolf, who was still hungry, said, little pig, let me come in. To which the little pig replied, no, 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 not by the hair on my chinny chin chin. Well, the wolf had heard that before, so he said, then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. Oh, don't do that, said the little pig. But the wolf huffed and he puffed and he huffed and he puffed until he was quite blue in the face. His house stood firm. I'll try another approach. There goes Scout. She didn't like that either. And so the wolf put on his most dazzling smile. Little pig, I was only teasing, he said. And by the way, Hear tell that Farmer Jones has the most scrumptious turnips. Shall we go pick a few? Oh, I'm much too busy now, said the little pig. What about tomorrow morning? Excellent, said the wolf. I'll come by around 6. Perfect. Well, the next morning the little pig got up at 5, and he hurried off to Farmer Jones' turnip field. He picked a basket full of scrumptious turnips. And when the wolf arrived at 6, the turnips were already boiling in the pot. Sorry I couldn't wait, said the little pig, and the wolf tried not to show his displeasure. No harm done, he said. And by the way, there is a lovely apple tree down in Merry Meadow. Shall we go help ourselves to a few apples? Well, I must cook my turnips, said the little pig. Let's meet there tomorrow morning. Splendid, said the wolf. Shall we say 5? Well, the next morning the little pig was up at 4 and went off for the apples. It took longer than he expected to reach Merry Meadow, and while busy gathering apples in the highest tree, he saw the wolf approaching. Do try one of these, he called down, and he threw the apple as far as he could. When the wolf chased after the apple, the little pig shimmied down the tree and made it safely home. Well, the next day the wolf came again, and he was really quite put out. You know, there's a fair today out on Hog Hill, he said. Would you care to go? Why don't we meet there, said the little pig. Would 3 o'clock suit you? Colossal, said the wolf. 3 it is. Just to make sure, he would be there at 2 this time. At 1 in the afternoon, the little pig went to the fair and had a fine time. So fine that he lost track of the hour. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he saw the wolf coming up the hill. Without a minute to spare, the little pig jumped inside an empty butter churn and rolled down the hill towards the wolf. Well, the wolf was so scared that he ran all the way home. There's a scout. Scout's barking at something. What could it be? That evening the wolf went to the little pig's house and told him how frightened he'd been about this great round thing that had come down the hill. Frightened you, did I? Said the little pig. That great round thing was a butter churn, and I was inside. Now this simply was too much for the wolf to stand. It's been nice long enough. I've been nice long enough, he cried. I'm going to eat you up right now. And he climbed onto the roof. When the little pig saw this, he put a big iron pot in the fireplace, and he quickly stoked the fire. Here I come, cried the wolf. Dinner time. You can say that again, said the little pig. And he cooked that mean old wolf, and he gobbled him up. The end. So this is the original version of the Three Little Pigs. Now, lots of different versions of the Three Little Pigs have been written. They might have changed the characters. They might have changed the setting. You could change it to the Three Little Hawaiian Pigs. And instead of a wolf, you can make it a shark. And then everything in the story would change. Now, you could change the setting, or you can even change perspective. Now, this book was written in the pig's point of view. So the pigs got to tell the story. But, as we know, there's always more than one side to a story. This book is called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs, and it's written from the wolf's point of view. So you're going to hear a whole nother different story because now the story is told by a wolf. So let's see how this story is different. Same story, but now it's told by the wolf instead of the three pigs. This is one of my favorite stories, by the way. Of course, I always say that, right? Everybody knows the story of the Three Little Pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll tell you a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody's ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf, but you can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but you know what? It's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If a cheeseburger were cute, folks like you would probably think that you were big and bad too. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. And this is the real story. Remember, this is told by the wolf. You see, way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny, and I had a terrible sneezing cold. And of course, I ran out of sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now, this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. I mean, can you believe it? I mean, who in their right mind would build a house out of straw? Unbelievable. So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, well, it fell right in. And I didn't want to just walk into someone's house, so I started to call, little pig, are you in? No answer. So I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. And that's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I puffed. And I sneezed, a great sneeze. And you know what? That whole darn straw house just fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig. Right there. Dead as a doornail. He'd been home the whole time. Well, it seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner just lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just lying there. I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar. So I went to the next neighbor's house. Now, this neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little bit smarter, but not much. He had built his house out of sticks. So I rang the bell on the stick house. Nobody answered. So I called, Mr. Pig, Mr. Pig, are you in? And he yelled back, go away, wolf. You can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. Well, I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth. I promise I did. But I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe this, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. And when the dust cleared, there was the second little pig right there, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor, I promise. Now, you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I'm getting awfully full. But my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar that for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house, and this guy was the first and second little pig's brother. And he must have had all the brains in the family because he built his house out of bricks. So I knocked on the brick house. No answer. So I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little porker answered? Get out of here, wolf. Don't bother me again. Well, talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar in there, and he wouldn't give me one little cup for my dear sweet old Granny's birthday cake. What a pig! I was just about to go home and maybe make her a nice birthday card instead of a cake. But then I felt my cold coming on, so I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed once again. And the little pig yelled out, "Oh, yeah, and that old Granny can go sit on a pin." Now, I am usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. So, when the cops drove up, of course, I was trying to break this pig's door down, and the whole time I'm huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. And the rest, as they say, is history. There I am in the paper. Big, bad wolf. Well, the news reporters found out about the 2 pigs I'd had for dinner, so they figure that a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't really sound like a very exciting story. So they jazzed up the story with all that huff and puff and blow your house down stuff. And they made me into the big bad wolf. And that's it. That's the real story. I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar? The end. So now we have 2 versions. One from the pigs. This one was from the wolf. Now you have to decide, who do you believe? Do you believe the little pigs and the big bad wolf coming to huff and puff and eat them all up? Or do you believe that it was just this sweet, innocent little wolf going to borrow a cup of sugar from his neighbors for his dear old sweet granny's birthday cake? Who do you believe? So they took the original story and they changed it from the point of view of the pigs and made a whole new story and told it in the point of view of the wolf. Now you need to decide which version you believe. Do you believe the little wolf's version, the little pig's version, or do you believe the wolf's version? Now that's up for you to decide. Hope you enjoyed our stories. We'll see you back for some more Fractured Fairy Tales. Have a good day. Bye.